destroy. It is the power to shift and change and be the newness of a new year and a new moment. So it is in this place of recognition that I am one with that infinite wholeness that is the divine, that I claim that this season be a season of turning within and letting the love from within flow out into the universe and return to me, as do the cycles of the season, as the sun sounds to play, fade into its newness as it rebirths. I am glad of the wholeness that I see. And I claim it within this wholeness that all sadness, all discomfort, all uncertainty just fade away into the native nothingness from whence it came. And that if we have impatience with ourselves or with another, that it just settles into the groundedness, for it emerged out of nothing and it can return to nothing. And so I claim a joyful heart, a loving spirit, a little humor, and the joy that we want to see in this season. Understanding that if there is sorrow or there is sadness, that is all a part of God, and it's okay to feel those feelings. But they can pass and move forward, just as the cycles of the life. And so I am grateful for the newness that is going to occur here in this service today, and reaching out into the world, that healing, love, and wholeness prevail. And I let it be, and so it is.
Hello again. This song is called Love's Life, and it's inspired by the root of this teaching, which is that everything is unfolding for the highest and best. It's from my new CD, Big Bang Breaks. The latest is always greater than the last. The future is always sweeter than the past. An ever-expanding expression of the Most High. This life, my life, is love's life. That's right. Alive in this love, we go deeper as we go. And as we grow higher, our souls reach below the waters of forever, this eternal flow. This life, your life, is love's life. So ride this moment as it unfolds inside your soul. Is a well of gold. You are everything that has been told. You are whole. You are whole. You are whole. Yeah. You are whole. Provided with promise, the beauty of the heart. Each ending is bending its way to a new start. This love is a beacon for all that we are. This life, your life, and this life, my life, is love's life. are whole. You are whole. I am whole. I am whole. We are whole. Whoa, oh, yeah. Whoa, I sing. Whoa, whoa, yeah. One more time. Whoa, yeah. Whoa, love's life.
So the theme of 2023 has been to live out loud. And during the month of December, there we go. Our theme for the month of December is embracing our wholeness. So I've talked about our wholeness individually and seeing wholeness in other people. And now we want to talk today about seeing wholeness in the world and actually looking through the appearances. You know, Mother Teresa once said that her dedication was to meet Jesus in all his distressing disguises, meaning that every human being she encountered, whether it was royalty or one of the untouchables in India, were all Jesus to her. So the invitation to us is to look upon the world in that way. That's a huge task because we tend to look at the world through our own experience and interpret it according to our own experience and everything that we've collected over our lifetime. You know, I can remember Bernie Siegel, the oncologist who wrote about wholeness and healing, saying many, many years ago now, that as an oncologist, there was a time where he felt that every abdomen he opened was full of cancer. Well, he was an oncologist, so of course that's what he saw. But what that meant was that as he looked at people just walking around, that's how he thought of them. That interpretation of what was going on in the world wasn't accurate, but it was understandable given where his focus was as a professional. Does this make sense? So, one day, and this may not make sense to you if you're not a computer person, but bear with me. One day, a mechanical engineer, an electrical engineer, and a chemical engineer, and a computer engineer were driving down the street together when all of a sudden their car broke down. And the mechanical engineer said, "I think a rod broke." The chemical engineer said, "No way. The way it spluttered at the end makes me think it's not getting any gas." The electrical engineer said, "I think you're both wrong. I think there was a spark and something's wrong with the electrical system." And all three of them turned to the computer engineer and said, "Well, what do you think?" He said, "I think we should all get out of the car and get back in." If you have a computer, you know how you have to restart it sometimes to get things to work just right, or with your phone, your smartphone, or things like that, you have to turn it off and turn it back on again. So this is the projection of our life's work onto, or what our ethos, our principles, our ethics are, our projection of that onto the world, and comparing how the world looks with what we're seeing and experiencing. Does this make sense? So we're going to now go back in time a little bit to the original Christmas stories that happen in the book of Matthew and the book of Luke in the New Testament. Now, Mark and John do not have nativity narratives at all. And it is believed, according to scholars who have studied the scriptures a lot, when they look at those gospels, it looks like those nativity narratives were actually tacked on later. And there is good reason for them to do something like that, because in the world at that time, the perspective was that avatars, spiritual gurus, leaders, God men, had astounding births, and there was also a Roman god, Mithras, who had this whole narrative, a nativity narrative of being born of a virgin in the winter and a star being seen and so on, the almost identical story. So it's likely that story was adopted and that Jesus was actually born in Nazareth, not in Bethlehem, and none of this stuff actually happened. I don't care. It's a good story, right? And so when we do the Advent wreath week to week during the 4 weeks before Christmas, we do that with an awareness that we have a perspective on each candle as it's lit that applies specifically to us and to our lives, not just to the story itself. So when we light these, we have, now as I said last week, we're actually a week ahead of the rest of the world as far as Advent is concerned, because I started a week early by accident, but I've started a week late before and had to catch up. So this week this year we're just a week ahead of everybody else. That's okay, because I'm going to use next Sunday, which is actually Christmas Eve, as the Christmas event. So we'll light a candle for Christmas next week. So we're doing all the Advent candles one at a time, just ahead of everybody else. The first week, I talked about the candle represents faith. So it represents the faith of those who looked ahead with the hopes that there would be some kind of a savior or redeemer for them, in the political realm, actually. For us, faith is linked into this idea of being able to look into the world and our own challenges and relationships and seek another perspective. So not just classifying things as what we like and what we don't like, good, bad, right, wrong, up, down, all of that kind of thing, but actually holding that there is a larger picture of order happening here that is maybe larger than what we can perceive. The second Sunday, or the first Sunday actually, was hope, not faith, was hope. The hope of those who looked ahead. The faith is for the shepherds and the magi. So these folks come to Bethlehem, to the baby in the manger, not because of any sort of specific guarantee that that's there. The magi comes because they see a very bright star, and they're guided to follow it. So they do. They know that they're going to look for a king. How they know that, I don't know. And actually, in the Persian tradition, Magi is the name of their high priest. That's a magus is a high priest. Magi is the plural. So they came from the east, it says. Although I think from Persia to Bethlehem is actually moving the opposite direction, but we won't go into that. So, but I could be wrong with my geography, so don't take that too seriously. Then we have the third Sunday, which is representing joy. So the shepherds have come because the angels told them to. The Magi has come because the star told them to. And then we have the celebration of joy, which is Mary's bringing forth the baby, the joy of being a parent, the Holy Family's experience of this new life, and how amazing and joyful it is. If you've ever looked at a newborn baby, it's awesome to see something that tiny with 10 fingernails and 10 toenails. They're the tiniest little things you ever saw on a newborn baby. And their toes look like there's too many of them for the end of the foot, because the end of the foot isn't very big and there's all these toes crammed onto it. If you've never seen a newborn baby, I'm just going on and on. But anyway, joy is part of that experience, joy and wonder. So for us, it's a joyful thing to recognize that there is a power in the universe greater than we are that's moving through us all the time, and that we can also use to create happier, more successful lives for ourselves too. That's a joyful thing to remember and to know that, as well as having faith and hope in that. Then today, as we claim the fourth Sunday of Advent, this is the candle of love. And this we look upon as perhaps the love that the angels have as they're singing their songs of praise and delight and joy and celebration in the birth of this divine being. And the love, then, we may look upon as the love that the infinite has for every one of us as an expression of divinity. Because if that one, that divine mystery, is truly omnipresent, omni meaning all, everywhere, then there is not a God somewhere else. There is only the God that is everywhere, always, in everything and everyone, all the time. And in fact, as we say, as the Unity Minister Eric Butterworth used to say, God is not in you like a raisin is in a bun somewhere, but rather, if God is truly omnipresent, then that presence is all that we are. But we're also given all of the free will to discover that through making mistakes and learning and growing, or refusing to grow and discovering what happens when we do that, because the infinite is not worried about us. It knows who we are. We're the ones that are confused. So we have now hope, faith, joy, and love, those qualities that we can carry with us through this season and into the new year. So this month of December, as we're looking at celebrating wholeness, today we're looking at seeing wholeness in the world. And I think in a larger way, have you ever had a difficult experience that you could look back at and say later in your life, boy, I never want to experience that again, but I'm actually not sorry that it happened because it got me here, or it taught me this, or I learned this, or I became better at something else. Anybody have that experience? Yeah. So mostly, if we experience that sometimes, maybe there's a way of trusting and having faith that that is always what's happening, even when we can't see it. Now, that doesn't mean that when things look terribly chaotic and we're very worried about what's happening and not feeling that it's right, that doesn't mean that we're not called to take some kind of action to try and move that thing forward in a positive direction. It also does not mean that we have to accept everyone equally into our lives, no matter what their behavior is like. So the idea of hate the sin, love the sinner, even though we don't believe in sin as an offense, it's a mistake, it's a poor aim, but I believe that we're all trying to forward ourselves in some way, even when we're making really terrible choices as far as other people are concerned. We think it forwards us somehow until we learn better or differently, or we actually get it somehow. So it doesn't mean we have to allow bad behavior, but rather that we see it as a behavioral thing, not as the essence of the person. So I talked about that last week. And the same is true when we look at the world overall. So communities of people, they catch consciousness from each other. They catch a way of looking at the world. They catch a view of who enemies are and who allies are and who's safe and who's not. And because our mental design, our brain's filtering system, is designed to support what we believe and make it easier for us, it keeps offering us examples that support what we believe. So it doesn't matter if what we believe is true. The brain works to support what we've decided as is important. And the way it knows that is through repetition and emotion. So when we feel strongly about something and we think about it in the same way over and over and over again, what happens is that as things show up around us in the world that reflect that same view, the brain allows that to come in with greater emphasis because it's something we've already established as part of our mental geography. You with me here? So, seeking to see wholeness in the world, that is a challenge because there are so many opportunities to see things that we think are wrong with the world. And you might say, really, that all of our art expression in the world is a commentary on what we believe and what's going on in the world. So when we see visual arts, when we go to the movies, when we listen to music, when we express in some way, whether it's through theater or dance or sculpture, when we watch the news, when we listen to comedians. Everything that we do in ways that allow us to process what we're experiencing, unfortunately also has a tendency to reinforce the there's cancer in every abdomen kind of view of the world and of other people. Does this make sense, what I'm saying? So if we're using art and all of those expressions as a way to cathartically release them, to express them, to bring them to people's attention, that's not a bad thing, but it is important for us also to reinterpret for ourselves what that invites us to, what that could reveal to us, what that can open us to, rather than just getting down, depressed, condemning, and kind of into negativity about it all. So it can spur us to action. It can awaken us to looking for where is something else happening that might inspire us or give us an idea of how to deal with this. And so if you want to go looking for good news, that is going to take some work. Seeking good news takes our intention and willpower to do, because bad news is free. It shows up everywhere. But good news is harder for advertisers to make money off of. So it's less supported by all of our creativity, because people get fascinated with negativity. We all do. It's like, you know, if you see a train is about to crash into another train, you're not going to go, oh, that's interesting, and walk away. You're going to stand there horrified and watch the whole thing happen. And that's what we do. That's human nature, I guess, as part of us. But there is something deeper and broader and fuller that wants the positive results, the upliftment, the inspiration, the happy ending, all of that kind of thing. Ernest Holmes, our founder, said there's no such thing as a part of God. In an indivisible unity, all of everything is present everywhere, all the time, in its wholeness. I tacked on that last phrase. And Maya Angelou said, perhaps travel cannot prevent bigotry, but by demonstrating that all peoples cry, laugh, eat, worry, die, it can introduce the idea that if we try and understand each other, we may even become friends. And so as we're practicing looking deeper, we may get frustrated because we can't find a deeper image of something. And those are places where we could conceivably work to make a change and trust that things are working out even when we can't see it. I had a youth church director a number of years ago in another church where we were having a shuffling of teachers and kids that were shifting grades and stuff, and a whole bunch of stuff was going on. And the youth director said to me once, you know, Reverend Mary, I know it looks like things are falling apart, but I am affirming that they are actually divinely falling together. And I thought that was brilliant, you know, because chaos never remains just chaos. It's always changing. So what is chaos changing into? And if we have another perspective on chaos, we might see that chaos from one perspective, when you can see it in a broader way, is actually divinely ordered, just not in the way that we're used to looking at it. So if you look for chaos models online, you'll find that when they do experiments where they have computers plot chaos just randomly over a period of time, they create a three-dimensional thing that looks like a three-winged bird. That's one of the images that comes out. And it's absolutely symmetrical and orderly in its way. But we can't see that looking at chaos from our perspective. So there may be a great deal more going on in the midst of our challenges and difficulties, in the midst of challenges in the world, than we can see. We don't know who is being transformed by that challenge or that suffering or that upheaval that's going on. And because we don't see it, it looks like it isn't happening. But there are more and more organizations in the world who are operating in this way with a vision of creating a world that works for everyone, which is a part of our vision. It says in Matthew, the book of Matthew, that Jesus said this, and I know that each one of the Gospels was put together by someone who had a specific vision and intent and a specific audience too. So in the book of Matthew, and this story also only appears in the book of Luke, and Luke was actually a Greek physician who traveled with Paul. He never knew Jesus. He wasn't one of the original 12. This is the version of it in the book of Matthew. It says that Jesus said to them, "Do not judge, or you too will be judged." In other words, what you put out returns to you. That's what we talk about as the law of correspondence or the law of return, the law of attraction, the law of cause and effect. What we put out has an energy vibration in the world that, like a boomerang, comes back to where it was sent out from. So do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. So judge a little bit, you attract a little bit of judgment. Judge a lot, you attract a lot of judgment. You with me here? Okay, then he goes on to say, why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when all the time there's a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. Now, what that says to me, it's not about seeing. It's not about eyes. It's about our point of view, our way of interpreting other people, like recognizing that we ourselves have blind spots. We ourselves have biases and prejudices that color the way that we're seeing the world and other people. And if we want to be aware enough to see it truly, we always need to come back to ourselves and say, is there another way to look at this? Am I missing something? What is a different way of interpreting this? If I'm angry, if I'm impatient, if I'm sad, if I feel guilty or ashamed of myself, if I'm angry with you, if I'm judging you, if I am vehemently disagreeing or feeling emotional or attacked, where is that starting? Do I have another choice? How could I see this differently? Years and years ago, one of our ministers, Reverend Terry Cole Whitaker, who used to have a television program decades ago, she wrote a book called What You Think of Me Is None of My Business. And she told us a story at CBEC one year up in Washington, which was like our Asilomar conference in California in the summertime. She told us once that her mother was somebody who was kind of an angry person, and she had been saying a bunch of negative things to Terry. And finally, in frustration, she said, "I can't insult you." And it was driving her nuts because Terry was not taking anything personally. She wasn't getting upset by what was being said. In some cases, she was even saying, "You might be right." And her mother was escalating and getting more upset as that went on. You can't be upset unless you choose to be. Nobody else can make you be upset. But we learn to be upset about certain things, and it becomes a habit. And once again, the brain supports our habits, whatever they are, so that we don't have to work hard to get to them. They're available immediately. So the warning or the reminder of the writer, possibly Jesus said this, is look to yourself first. Straighten yourself out before you try and straighten out somebody else. Because what they have to straighten out might be a lot less than what you think it is if you take care of yourself first. So we're moving in a direction of becoming more conscious, more present, moment by moment. I'm not real good at this yet. And I suspect it might be something I have to take a few lifetimes more to work on. Becoming present at every moment, really being aware of the impact of the presence of listening or speaking and what I'm saying and how I'm interpreting what's happening or being said to me at the same time. So the question might be, well, what is the wholeness that we actually want to see in the world? And I think the wholeness we want to see kind of is in line with the Christmas movies that we watch a lot of times, especially the older ones, where there are happy endings, no matter how unlikely they are, where there is a redemption story, the sort of prodigal son story that comes into reinterpretation again and again. Kindness is given. We love to see stories, movies, and tales where kindness is shown or given. I've gotten to the point where it's really not something I want to do to watch movies about World War II and the Nazis anymore. To watch anything about genocide or abuse, not because it isn't important, not because I want to pretend it doesn't happen, but because I can't inwardly handle it anymore. I would rather take a step back and send love to all those places and people, recognizing that, yes, horrible things have happened and do still happen, but I don't have to immerse myself in misery because of them, because that only contributes to the energy of misery. Instead, what I want to be able to do is step back and send a sense of peacefulness and wholeness and love and resolution to those places. And for me, there's a difference in those two things. We want to see good qualities not only displayed and acted upon and given, but we like to see that happen consistently. It's not just that somebody gets a good idea and does a good thing once and then goes back to all the crummy things they were doing before that, but actually in the story, they're changed somehow. Those stories, they inspire and uplift us, and that's really the world that we want to see, that we want to live in, that we're looking for. Like this little tiny newborn kitten who's being bottle fed by somebody because its mother died or it was abandoned or something else happened. Taking the time every couple hours to feed this little creature in this way, night and day, is an act of kindness, gentleness, compassion given to another creature. The happy ending is that hopefully that little kitten is going to be healthy, grow up to be somebody's lovely cat that sleeps and eats and gets cuddles. I've always said that when I come back in my next life, I want to be a really well-loved cat. I'm partly kidding about that, but not entirely. Bob Tobin, Jack Sarfati, and Fred Wolf are quantum physicists. They wrote a book called Space, Time, and Beyond quite a long time ago. And they said some amazing things in that book. The ordinary universe we perceive is not one universe. It is the harmony of phases of movements in an indefinite number of universes. I don't know if they know that or they're proposing that, but it's amazing to me. Like we may step from one universe to another moment by moment and not even realize that we're in a parallel experience that could be happening. They say there is an indefinite number of possibilities, and we exist in all the universe layers simultaneously. And they also say each reality is constantly forming and affecting all the other realities beyond time. So what that means to me is that if there is an expression of us in the universe that is further ahead at creating a world or an existence that works for everyone, for all creatures, then we can open to being influenced by that greater awareness. If there is a version of this universe that's another parallel that is less developed than we are, then our presence can hopefully bring that up into a larger awareness and space of goodness and inclusion and wholeness and joy. Now, Edwin Gaines, the prosperity teacher from the Unity organization, has said, you know, if we practice not complaining for 21 days, no complaints, that it will transform our lives. Now she says, you know, if you find yourself making some little tiny complaint, you know, somewhere in those 21 days, forgive yourself immediately and begin right away on another 21-day program. So she said, be very careful on day 20. But the process of not complaining, she said, now look at this and see this is a big commitment to decide you want to do this, because if you do away with complaints, what are we going to talk to each other about? We have to find entirely new things to communicate with one another about if we're not complaining anymore. So if we want to bring that world we want to see into being, perhaps one of the ways we do that is to stop complaining so much and looking at things that bother us, that frustrate us, that make us mad. Like the poet E.E. Cummings, who said, I thank God for this most amazing day, for the leaping greenly spirits of trees, and for a true blue dream of sky, and for everything which is natural, which is infinite, which is yes. Now that's the way to look at the world in all of its splendor and wonder and beauty and glory, because there is plenty of that, as well as all the other stuff. And all of it is temporary. All of this physical universe is passing show. It's changing all the time. It doesn't stay the same, neither do we. We will move on from this experience. Everything that's in physical form on this earth will eventually deteriorate in some fashion and be used in some other way. That's the way of form. It's always changing. It's never done. When things go into entropy, that's not the end of the story either, because somewhere along the line, that energy is reclaimed and recycled in the universe. So we might say, well, you know, does this really matter? I mean, if it's going to happen anyway, if this is how the universe works, if it's all for good, what difference does it make if I take some kind of action or I don't take some kind of action, or what I believe? Why does it make any difference? It makes a difference because everything we contribute in our thoughts, in our beliefs, in our behavior to the collective consciousness of humanity has an effect on everybody else. And so if we want a better world, then we want to contribute better ourselves. When we do this, we bring about something that lifts our spirits and reflects the actual human tendency toward kindness and generosity. It increases an awareness of kindness in the collective consciousness, an awareness of kindness when it's happening, and it inspires more kindness. Now, this is a picture of Taylor Swift. And Taylor Swift is noted for two things besides being talented: her wealth, her tremendous wealth, and her generosity. She's the only recording artist to have made all of her money from concerts and sales of her music, rather than spinning off into everything else there is. And everywhere she performs, she tends to give some kind of gift. Now, this picture was taken because she had given $25,000 for 25 schools in New York City. This is, I think, 10 years ago or so that every one of those schools would get $1,000 for academic books for the kids. Recently, in another concert, she was in a city where she gave enough money to the food bank there locally to feed 500 families for a year. So when we learn about that scope of generosity, we admire her, we're amazed, we appreciate her generosity, and hopefully it makes us hopeful. It increases our faith and our joy and our love and allows us to be inspired also to take a greater action in that way in the world. So I want to share this little story with you. And before I do, I want to remind you that for a while, I was a minister in British Columbia. And my son and his family live in Bellingham, Washington, which is about 15 minutes from the Canadian border. Actually, they've just moved, so it may be a little further away, but very close to the border. And so as we were living in British Columbia and I was working in Vancouver, we came back and forth quite often across the border. And what I discovered was that border guards were pretty interesting. They could be really friendly or really not friendly. And you never really knew from one time to the next crossing if it was going to be that way in a good way or not in such a good way. And mostly, I hate to say this, but mostly it was American border guards who were rude. And you know, Canadians have a reputation for being very polite. And they are very polite and civil. So when one of their border guards was rude, it was really shocking because it was so unusual. I could assume maybe that person was having a bad day or something like that. So this story, Ellen and her husband Chaz were driving home to Los Angeles from Tijuana. They had gone to Mexico to pick up chemotherapy drugs for Chaz's metastasized colon cancer, and Ellen had the medication in a plastic bag in her purse. It was 8 little bottles of white powder, which raised alarm bells at the border. So before they could cross back into the United States, they were taken to a large auditorium full of x-ray machines and guards in uniform. Both Chaz and I were really panicked, Ellen recalled. I was afraid that they would confiscate the drugs and not let us take them home, and then Chaz's chance at beating the cancer would be gone. A border official inspected the bottles. He was enormous, really scary looking. The official then reached back into the bag and took out the doctor's prescription order. He studied it for a moment and then reached out for Chaz's hand and said, "My dad had cancer, and he took chemotherapy drugs." And then he looked closely at Chaz and said, "He's still alive." After that, they were free to go. Ellen and Chaz were in shock. As soon as they got outside, they cried and hugged each other with relief. And Ellen said, "That man looked so big and frightening, but he was so kind and gentle." It was a lesson for us that you never know who a person really is just by how they look. And our world is really not who it is just by how it looks. How it looks to us is sometimes not giving us the opportunity to see something deeper inside that's willing and available and maybe even trying to happen. So as we go into this last week here now, before we actually hit the Christmas weekend, let's see if we can take more time. I know that's a big thing to suggest the week before Christmas, because even I'm thinking about all the stuff I have to do, right? But maybe there's a way of doing those things with a sense of being in the process of creating more joy or more love or blessing each thing we wrap or each card we write or send or email or whatever we do, any shopping we do, any cooking we do, any of the decorating we do, that we do those things with a sense of what? Hope, faith, joy, love, self-forgiveness, celebration, and being that person of increase who is generously expressing something, however much or little we have to give or express. I know that we're all capable of that, and I'm saying it out loud to help me remember to do it. So I charge you with that for this week, to remember. Even if you only remember once, that's great. That's perfect. And to forgive yourself for any of the moments that you didn't remember, knowing that that one moment makes a big difference. And prepare yourself then to have a wonderful holiday and a very Merry Christmas. Namaste. Thank you. Let's go ahead and anchor this now inside ourselves. So in this moment, right here, right now, in this space and time, I know that the presence of God is in this place, in this podium, on this platform, in every chair, in all of the decorations. There is nothing we breathe in or out but the light of God. It may be disguised as oxygen, but we know what it really is. Every one of us in this moment is capable of being grateful for the physical bodies we dwell in, for the food we eat, for our loved ones, near and far, those who've passed and those who are with us, for our friends, for our own gifts and talents, for this fragile, beautiful, ever-changing world and universe. And that deep gratitude seeds our way this week and allows us to spread good, joy, generosity, laughter, kindness, moment by moment. We are prepared, we are ready, we're capable, we're responsive and willing. And so we call forth memory and willpower, motivation and action to do this in the world, to be co-creators of a world that works for everyone, as much as we can remember it and do it. And we're so grateful to know that this is in us now and unfolding for us and through us at this moment. With great gratitude, we accept the charge. With love, we let it be inside ourselves now, and we release this prayer into the creative law of mind and spirit, which brings this forward into form and experience. And we release this prayer into the heart of God, where it always has been the truth of us and of the world. We let it go into that divine vision and law and simply let it be so. And together we say, and so it is. Yes. Please stand and join me in the morning's affirmation. This we say together in unison. The world is complex and multidimensional. I can't always see the reasons it is the way it is. I choose to trust its unfoldment as guided by divine wisdom, even when human choices look bad to me. I rest in God's love, knowing that in the end, wholeness prevails. And so it is. You may be seated. And I'm going to invite the ushers to come forward now. This is our sacred giving time, and we want to bless everything that's being offered this morning and all the gifts that Golden Gate has received in every form this past week. If you were with us at the new office for the open house on Friday, thank you for those of you who made it. It was great fun, and you got a chance to see where we are located now. For those that want to donate this morning, let me first say, if this is the first time you have attended here, your presence here with us is your gift. And for those of us that give on a regular basis, this is the time to bless those offerings. So whether you're giving something right now this morning or you give automatically through your many accounts, whatever you do, hold your gift over your heart now. Or with a loved one, hold it in your hands together. And we will say this offering blessing together right now. This gift I give is God in action. I now send it forth to bless and to prosper. I know that everywhere it goes, it is creating a world living in love, one heart and one thought at a time. And so it is.
Here's another new song. Now, this one is brand new. It hasn't even been recorded yet. And it's all about being seen. You know, how important it is to see each other as whole. Everybody needs to feel seen, to feel real. Everybody needs a little love to heal. Everybody's seen pain and strife. Everybody's going through life. Hey, 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 sometimes all I need is for a witness. Can I get a witness? Then you go, yeah. Sometimes all I need is for a witness. Can I get a witness? Yeah. Yeah, 'cause everything is gonna be fine in the end. And if it's not fine, it's not the end. And everything is gonna be good, my friend. By the end of this song, you'll be happy again. 'Cause I will be your witness. Let me be your witness. Oh, sometimes all I need is for a witness. Can I get a witness? Oh, sometimes all I need is for a witness. Can I get a witness? Oh, show me all your ups and downs. Show me lost, show me found. Show me happy, show me sad. Show me out your mind mad. Show me you're crazy, show me you're crazy. Yeah. We all have a little bit of crazy, yeah. So let's be witnesses for each other today. Turn to somebody, say, I will be your witness.
I'll be your witness.
I will just be there to see it, witness it, hold you in that space. I will hold you, I will hold you, I will hold you as whole. I will hold you, I will hold you, I will hold you as whole. I will be your witness. Sometimes all I need is for a witness. Can I get a witness? Sometimes all I need is for a witness. Can I get a witness? Let's break it down with a clap. Come on. Sometimes all I need is for a witness. Can I get a witness? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Can all I need is for a witness. Can I be a witness? See, 'cause everybody needs to feel seen, to feel real. And everybody needs a little love to heal. And everybody's seen a little pain and strife. Everybody's going through life. Hey, 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 sometimes all I need is for a witness. Can I be a witness? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes all I need is to be seen. Yeah. I love that new tune. I hope you dig it. Woo!
Thank you, Amy. All right. So now, we do, all of us together, on behalf of Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living, accept this offering, and we send it out into the world that people might look through the appearance and really see the world and each other with that light of God within. And so it is. Thanks, Jane. All right, thank you, Amy. If you are with us for the very first time this morning, I want to direct your attention to Galen, who's back at the back table in front of the Christmas tree, waving the blue card around. There are welcome packets back there at the back table. Help yourself to one of those or any of the other handouts that are back there. And if you take the blue card out of the welcome packet and fill it out, give it to Galen. She's going to give you a little book. That's a gift, a free gift from us to you, and it's called Nourishing Thoughts. It's a good reminder, a little booklet to have with you. You can open it up anywhere and get a little boost, a little inspiration. And that's our thank you to you for being here, and also our invitation to you to come back and be with us again often. I want to thank everybody that's been involved in getting this morning together for us. Especially want to thank the Corte Madera Community Center for all these wonderful decorations that they did, as well as the Frost family for Gnome Sunday. So they're, yes, isn't that great? You know, I especially like the piggyback gnomes over on that corner. So you have to go and look at them all. They are not the seven dwarves. They're the Christmas gnome. It's a variation of Santa Claus. I'm declaring that. I don't know. But let's give a hand to everyone who's been involved in putting this together this morning. All right, thanks everybody. And so I want to remind you that the Women's Drumming Circle is doing a special solstice event on Wednesday, the 20th of December, which is this coming Wednesday, from 7 to 8:30 p.m. And there will be a special guest, Jane Henriksen will be there. So if you would like to attend that, there is a love offering requested, but no one is turned away for lack of funds. Anybody can go. I mean, fellas, I guess you can't really go, but any of the women that would like to go, and you can register. It is held at the Unity Church in Marin, and if you go to that link, you can let them know that you're coming in advance, and they always appreciate that. Want to remind you that next Sunday and also on the morning of New Year's Eve, so next Sunday is Christmas Eve, the Sunday after that is New Year's Eve, we will not be here. We will be at the Best Western Court of Madera over on Madera Boulevard. And we've been there before for services. This building is closed, so that's where we're going to be. So I just want you to know, services at the regular time at 10 o'clock. Just go into that Best Western. You'll see, go right through the lobby and turn left into the room, and we're right there. And we will be there the next 2 Sundays. Also, I want to let you know that on January 9th, we have another opportunity to serve at the San Francisco Marin Food Bank. And this happens at the warehouse in San Rafael, so you don't have to go into the city to do this. It's just a 2-hour shift on that Tuesday from noon to 2 p.m., January 9th. Please get in touch with Ellen Nicosia if you would like to participate, because she has to turn the names in a week in advance. So you can text her, you can call her and leave her a message, you can email her, but let her know if you'd like to be part of that so she gets you on the list. And these are photos from this last time. It's not the same 2 photos, by the way, even though some of the people are the same. So I wanted to use them both to get everybody in that was there. Leslie Giannetti, one of our licensed practitioners, is going to be offering once again the Sacred Grieving workshop that she did with Lori Greer some months back. Was very well received. Now that will be at the Sunrise Center, which is just down the street from us here, actually. And it's a 2-hour workshop on Sunday, January 21st from 1 to 3 p.m. So there are, and I didn't bring it up here with me, there are little half-sheet flyers on the back table back here and a sign-up sheet. If you are interested in going, sign up now so Leslie knows how many she's preparing for. So that's at the end of next month. You have time to check your calendar because the sign-up sheet will be here for a few weeks now so that you have another chance. Also, I want to remind you of the opportunity to get on Meetup and look up Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living. See, the helpful thing about this is that if we had known how many people were actually planning to come to the open house, we would have known how much coffee and how many cookies we needed to have for the group, but we had no idea because the number of RSVPs we had were just a few, and we figured there'd be more people than that. So what we want to do now is we have all of our events showing up now on Meetup, and if you get a free Meetup membership and just look us up and follow us or join us, whatever you do, online, then you'll get a little reminder when things are happening, and you can let us know if you're going to attend something, and that will help us plan and know what we're going to do. Plus, you can see other things that are going on you might be interested in as well. Finally, year-end giving. We're like in the last 2 weeks of the year now, and some of you have mandatory charitable distributions you need to do at the end of the year. We would be honored to receive anything if you're in the process of doing that. And also, I just want to remind you that we're still encouraging and receiving giving declarations for those of you that have not yet made your giving intention for 2023. So if you haven't done that yet, there are a couple ways you can do that. There are forms on the back table. You can fill one out, put it in an envelope, give it to Galen, and we'll get that turned in. And you can do it from our website under the donations tab. And we would greatly appreciate that. That helps us budget and plan for the coming year. Finally, prayer. The prayer box is available over here on the practitioner table on Sundays. You can always put a written prayer request in for anything in your life that you want spiritual uplift and support in. And also, we have 3 practitioners on duty this morning who are there volunteering their time on Sunday to pray with you. If you have anything that's bugging you, especially around this season, be sure to get prayer. Never leave with a heavy heart on a Sunday. That's what they're there for. And we love it that they serve in that way for us. So now I invite you to stand and join me in the closing blessing and song. Thank you all for being here this morning. As we say and declare together, I now walk so that whoever walks beside me dwells in the presence of God, and whoever places a hand in mine is lifted, and whoever thinks of me is illumined with God consciousness. For spirit and all people and I are one eternally, and so it is. And here's the last song. We know this song.
Thank you again for having me. Let's close with something that's going to lift you up. It's going to remind you that you are perfect, whole, and complete. This is a Harold Payne song, Something Wonderful. I've done it for you before. I'm trying to repeat some stuff so that you can sing along. This one goes, something wonderful, something wonderful is happening to me right here, right now. You got it? Something wonderful, something wonderful is happening to me right here, right now. And I can feel it in my body. I can feel it in my body. I can feel it in my soul. I can feel it in my heart. And it won't let go. Something wonderful, that's all. Something wonderful is happening to me right here, right now. You know what? Take a moment and shout out something wonderful that's happening for you today, right now. Something wonderful. For me, something
Right now,
wonderful is
right
getting
here,
played for you.
today.
And the art that's behind me, I feel wonderful when I paint. What makes you feel wonderful? Tell somebody. Turn to somebody and tell them as we close this time together. We sing. Something wonderful, something wonderful is happening to me right here, right now. Again. Something wonderful, something wonderful is happening to me right here, right now. And I can feel it, and I can feel it in my body, yeah. I can feel it in my soul, yeah. I can feel it in my heart, come on. And it won't let go. Something wonderful.
Have a wonderful week, everyone. Greet everybody. Happy Christmas.